Welcome to QWERTY Writing Life Podcast, where we have candid chats about our creative lives. This is May.
And I'm Joy.
For more information about our podcast, monthly newsletter, or author resource series, visit us at QWERTYWritingLife.com. That's QWERTY, spelled QWERTY.
It's the first 6 letters on your keyboard.
So, are you ready? Grab your tea.
Or your coffee, and let's chat.
Hello, everyone. It's another week.
Hello and welcome.
Today, we are going to talk about why we should care about the great conversation. But before we do that, let's talk about our creative week. Joy, what did you do?
As we are recording this, it is a little bit earlier. It is actually still 2023. Back in the day, we know that you guys are listening to this in the new year. So we are still working through thinking about the new year and all of that. So my creative week is really focusing in on thinking through the new year, as well as reflecting back on the old one. I always do a word of the year. I set some goals for the year. And I also like to look back and reflect on what I accomplished in the previous year and see the things that I didn't get to, decide if those are things that I want to bring into the new year and make happen in the new year, or if I want to kind of set them aside for now or for good or whatever needs to happen. So that's kind of the situation that I'm in right now.
No, I love that. I love that so much. And I think that I think the one thing that I really love about it is that, I feel like a lot of the times we are on the offensive, like we're just kind of like batting at things that are coming at us. You know what I mean? And it feels like a very hectic hustle, kind of, something where we are just trying to survive. And what you've chosen to do, and this is something that we do every year, is just to kind of take a moment, like an intentional moment, and to stand still, like not only in our minds, but also in our bodies and in our souls, and just really reflect and seek and love on the year that has passed. And on ourselves, and offer grace, and to see what we want to be and what we want to do in the future. And what I love about that too is that if you don't know where you've been, you don't really know where you can go.
Yeah.
So for another analogy, like you don't want to build on top of something that's not stable, right? So all through your life, you've been building foundations and different floors in your life house. This is going awry.
I like it. Your life house. That's great.
And so now it's just another year. It's another floor. It's another something that you're building on top of that's going to be much more stable than where if you were just trying to swat. And the things that come at you. So.
Try to slap up the walls. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Do it right.
Yeah. You want those corners plumbed.
That's right.
That is so funny. I was going to tell you, there was something that I was thinking about, which kind of falls in line with your creative week and also my creative week. So we'll just do it all together. But I had this idea. Because I get to the end of the year and I like blank slate as far as like things that we've done that I'm thankful for, like things that we've done that I celebrated in a moment, but then completely forgot about a week later, things like that. And I have been feeling very mortal now that I'm like halfway through my life or whatnot. and I just wanted to find a non-hectic, like non-hassle way of recording those things that have made my heart happy, that we have celebrated, as a family and also individually. And so this is what I've come up with. Everything's got to be multifunctional for me. Like for me to like love it, it has to be pretty and functional. Those are the two things.
There you go. I like it.
So I'm going to find a pretty, like, I don't know if it's going to be glass or pottery or something like that, but like a big vase or bucket or something that's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put it in a place in my house where it can be a decoration, but then it can also be a container for the little notepad and pen that's going to always be beside it, maybe even hidden in some sort of floral arrangement around it, like some eucalyptus or some evergreen or something like that, just kind of wrapped around it. And so it's little squares of paper that will be on a notebook so they don't go flying off everywhere. But every time something cool happens in 2024, I want to be able to write a little note about what it is and who it involves and the date on there and what we're, like, so we can celebrate those things all over again in the end of the year whenever we don't remember all of the wonderful things that have happened to us. So
I love that so much. That's going to be so special. I may have to steal that.
You can steal it. Everybody can steal it. I want to, if you can steal it, let us know. You can email us at QWERTYWritingLife@gmail.com. Oh, also, a few seasons ago, Joy made a beautiful goal template, and she has named all of the different types of goals and these wonderful, like, fairy mystical creature ways.
Cheese and coochies and all these kinds of things. Yes. Dragons. Yes.
And it has instructions on like how to make your goals. So if you want to make goals like Joy, then just email us at QWERTYWritingLife@gmail.com.
Or you can subscribe to our newsletter and you will get that immediately. So go to QWERTYWritingLife.com and just subscribe there. There's a little place where you can subscribe to our newsletter and you will get those.
Do that instead.
Do that. And then you'll get, like, every month, you'll get a little nugget from us in your inbox, just once a month. So it's not like we're going to spam you or anything.
No. And it does come like little notes. So Joy and I alternate each month. And so Joy will send a little note and I'll send a little note. We did something really cool in the last newsletter that I thoroughly enjoyed, but it was kind of piggybacking on our episode about prompts. And so we found a visual prompt. And I said the word wrong. And then we both wrote about the prompt and shared it with you guys in the newsletter. So if you, when you get your next one, if you just want to hit reply and if you want to get the results of those prompts and like see what the prompt is and maybe write your own or that sort of thing, then you can just reply to the newsletter, the next newsletter that comes in, and we'll send it to you.
Absolutely.
So, but that'll be fun and an easy way for you to send us pictures of your gratitude jar. Yes. I do feel like I have to make things special. So I know that I said like pretty and functional and that sort of thing, but I think that this is going to have to go a little overboard. And so I'm going to have to like, knight the jar. And
this is such a great visual right now. I love it.
Like, Sir Gratitude Box.
That's perfect.
This is how you will serve this kingdom.
You have a great role in our kingdom.
So if you happen to use this idea, please send us your pictures of your Sir Gratitude Box.
That's great.
Yes. I hope it works. I have a tendency to just kind of not finish a notebook or not finish a planner or something like that. And I don't want this to be part of that not finishing habit that I have created and also have found is how I'm neurologically made up, which is fun to find out about yourself. And so I feel as if like making it extra special, like, knighting it in my mind will hopefully help to make it to the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, and having it in a place where you're going to see it all the time, having the notebook and the pen already there, maybe having like extra notebooks and extra pens very close by in case you run out or the pen runs out of ink, you can just very quickly replace it and not have to worry about a trip to the store or, whatever. Like just making it simple and set up and there. That is brilliant. Yeah.
I have two ideas. I think either I'm going to put it in the middle of my dining room table because it's a long rectangle. And so it could be like a pretty decoration thing for the middle of the dining room table. Or we have a table that is behind our sofa, and it's like you walk in the door and there's this, long rectangle table behind our sofa by the stairs. And so I think that maybe one of those two places will be good because I'll see it every day because I have to walk in and out of the door every day. And or we have meals together. Generally, we have dinner together at the table. So that would be like staring at it. And it would almost be kind of cool, like, to make it a dinner thing too, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, we're having our conversation, what happened today, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe even jotting a couple of those things down and pop them in the jar.
Yeah.
That would be cool. A bigger one, though. It can't be a jar because we're going to have lots of things we're grateful for throughout the year, right?
That is true. That is so true. Yeah.
So, and all of that just rolls into my creative week. I'm doing reflecting and I'm seeking and trying to find out, like, what is May's next right thing. So, yeah. That's my week.
Oh, I love it. And that's just so beautiful to take that intentional step to be still, to reflect, to think through things, to look forward with hope and with clarity and all of that. So,
yeah. And I do think that this is one way that we can, if you're feeling like you're in a bit of a survival mode, if you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like you're in a place that's dark, like, this is one way, taking this time to reflect and to be still and to seek the next right thing. It's a way to combat all of that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's all good. And, I feel like it leads really well into our topic today, because this whole why should we care about the great conversation, it's something that we have to think through. We have to be intentional in thinking through, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though the great conversation is made up of different aspects, like the whole practice of reflection and seeking and knowing yourself and, like, who you are, like, even pondering who you are and why you're here and, like, what is humanity and all of those things, like, we're still questioning all of those things on a philosophical level, I think, in the great conversation, even though they're thought about it from two different perspectives. So, yeah. Last episode, we started this whole topic of the great conversation, and we chatted about, like, what it is. So if you're a little confused about, like, what the great conversation is and why we're talking about this at all, then go ahead and push pause on this episode. Just hop back one episode and listen to that one. I don't think it's terribly long. I think it's a good, we tried to keep it as concise as possible. And then just hop back over to this episode and we can continue the conversation after you have listened to what is the great conversation. And so now we're going to talk about, like, why care about the great conversation.
Yeah, which is a good question for the skeptics amongst us, right? So what we've come up with is we've come up with 3 primary whys for you guys, and then we're going a little further in regards specifically to literature. And so we're going to give you guys 7 benefits to literature that we've come up with. So there we go.
And I would love to hear, because our primary medium, like creative medium, is writing. Joy and I can speak intelligently to literature. If your creative medium is something different, or if you have multiple creative mediums, we would love to hear how those mediums, like, why you should be a part of the great conversation for those mediums, or if our 7 reasons apply to your medium as well. Like, that would be really cool to know. So
definitely.
Yeah. So the first why that we came up with is the fact that we're all a part of this conversation, whether we realize it or not. From the time we were born, we have been talked to or talked at or talked with. So Conversation and story and experience have surrounded us from day one. As a result of such an immersion, we've been influenced by that, whether we've always realized it or not.
Yeah. And this is how our worldviews develop and evolve as we grow as humans and in our experiences. We take in the worldviews of our parents, and then we turn them over and consider them from new angles, and we experience things that either confirm or alter those views. And we have discussions that ask new questions, and we grow as humans.
Yes. And so what really it comes down to is that we're all part of it. So we should care what part we play.
Yes. Bingo. So the second why we came up with is conversation, by definition, is a back and forth. Creatives are part, and so are readers or consumers of art. This is more of a mindset or an understanding of how we engage with the great conversation, creatively speaking.
And this is something that we've discussed before. Authors, for example, begin a conversation through their stories or books, and once we publish them, their side of the chat in many ways is done. Like we have said what we've said.
Yeah.
And given it to other people to either reject or to accept and move on with their thoughts and conversations with other consumers or artists, or they become the artist, which I think is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But the conversation is really just beginning whenever we make the things and we put it out into the world. And so somewhere a reader picks up Joy's story and adds their reactions and further thoughts to those words. And then they share that with their spouse, with their friends, or some strangers, sometimes even like on a bus or something.
Yeah, it does.
Or 50. I think one of the most fun things is like if you're on a vacation or like sitting on a beach or something like that, and you're reading a book and somebody comes up to you like, I've read that.
Yes.
That's super fun. So you're sharing it with your spouses, with your friends, with strangers, on an online discussion forum, like wherever you can share it because it's touched you in some way, either negatively or positively.
Right.
And so that conversation continues. So you've got like the artist, and then you've got the consumer, and then that consumer talks to other people about their, the artist's work. And they feel strongly about it. And so they're either just sharing the story and getting other people's opinions to kind of cultivate a community perspective. And then there are times where even those consumers, or one or more of those consumers, become an artist themselves and create more art. And you got kind of like this zigzag ladder thing going to where we just learn from each other over and over again as a society and as a group of people. So that's how that works.
Yeah, literature truly is an unending conversation. We continue to converse with authors who passed away a long time ago. The discussions sparked by an author's book often never return to that author. The many chats that I've had with May or my husband or other nerdy friends about J.R.R. Tolkien's works will never circle back to him, obviously, and yet that conversation continues because I share my thoughts on his words with my kids. And as they read his works and consider my reactions, they'll reply with their own, and so forth. So talk about magical.
And don't even, I'm just, throwing this out there. What is one of the inspirations of the fairy story that is percolating in your mind right now?
Yeah, true. All of J.R.R. Tolkien's works. I mean, definitely. And you can see that so much in many authors. And, we use him as an example a lot when it comes to fantasy, but you can definitely tell the authors who have been inspired by his writings, which is most decent fantasy writers, I would say.
Right. And a side note from that, I actually heard another author who is a very prominent author in the commercial fiction world say that when she had a question where when is it fan fiction and when do we publish? What's the difference there? And she actually said, when you have something to add to the conversation, then you're ready to, to consider publication and that sort of thing. So, so there, there have been some conversations where there have been people who have taken popular stories and just kind of, carbon copied them. Does anybody know what a carbon copy is anymore? Maybe I should say something else. Like maybe they have duplicated or like just
copied and pasted.
Copied and pasted. There we go.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Can you believe that when I got into the professional world, I literally had carbon paper where we had like the three sheets, the pink, the yellow, and the white, all put
triplicate.
You would write one copy would go to, into the file, one copy would go to the, the consumer. It was so, okay, anyway. Side note. Anyway.
You're dating us. You're dating us, May.
I'm dating myself. Joy is immortal, so she's
I'm really an elf. No.
But, there are some people who have maybe even made money off of, just taking a popular story and just duplicating it in different ways. But to this particular author, and I won't name because it might be a controversial perspective, but to this particular author, this author felt that when you have something to add to the conversation, whenever you take, the story that you have been inspired by and take it to another place, another perspective, another level, then you're adding to the conversation and then you're ready to share with the world. Now let's talk about the third why. And this actually began as a question in Joy and my mind. So does the conversation matter if we do not apply it to our lives? Or is it just anthropological or academic?
So we decided that the answer to that is in the answer to another question. You see where we go, right? Why do we have conversations at all? And we came up with 4 answers to share with you guys.
And the first is that we discussed how we are community-centered beings. And we kind of talked a little bit about that when I was talking about the ladder thing, that the crisscross ladder thing. But we are made to be in community with fellow humans. And I think we all witnessed the truth of that firsthand during the lockdowns in 2020, when everybody was like, where are people?
Right.
And why am I unhappy?
So true. Yes. So a second answer to our questions about why we have conversations is it's a way to get to know each other better and to enrich our lives by incorporating others in it. And this reminds me of our critique partnership, okay? I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand a little bit, just a tiny bit. One of the great benefits to the CP relationship that we expound on in our book, Finders Keepers, A Practical Approach to Find and Keep Your Writing Critique Partner, is how much more powerful we are together. Because May is better than me at certain things, and she reads and learns new concepts that I won't stumble upon, when she shares her knowledge with me, and then when I do the same with her, it's reciprocal, we are making each other far better than we would ever be left to our own singular limited devices. And it's the same with conversation. We bring experiences that only we can have to others. And when we share those, they benefit and their mindset has been broadened in ways that it may not have been without our additions to the conversation.
And when we seek to know others and their art better, we see new perspectives and intrinsically know ourselves a little bit more, which is kind of a beautiful thing about our community and our conversations that we have with each other. And that ties in closely with the third answer that we mentioned, which is the concept of the mirror effect. So seeing our current situations played out in others and observing their reactions to them increases our experiences and understanding, even though it's at hand, right? We all may react different to news or changes in the environment, all in different ways. And when we witness how others do, it shows us alternatives to our own reactions and makes us question and wonder and ponder and consider, and all of which we think are, positive exercises.
Yes, definitely positive. Yeah, and finally, we had to take the answer to why we have conversations back to the origin of words and stories. We were created to love, crave, use, and learn from words. God used words to reveal himself to humans. He spoke and the world was. He chose to have his words written to us and preserved over thousands of years in the form of the greatest book of all times, the Bible. Words are foundational, creational, inspirational, and relational.
So once we reached that answer, we decided to jot down a few benefits of literature. And we very quickly came up with 7. And of course, there are many more, and we want to hear what other benefits that you have found when it comes to literature and the conversation as well. So be sure to email us or DM us on Instagram or Facebook and let us know at QWERTY Writing Life. Same handle on both. So the first benefit to literature is it helps us understand our culture.
Yes. Second, literature expands our worldview and diversifies our empathy for people who we haven't had interactions with and emotions we haven't had interactions with.
So important. Oh, it's so important. Third, literature helps us influence our own works by analyzing and critiquing others' works and styles and so on and so forth. So when we identify what we like or what we don't like and why, we can use that to bolster our own art.
Yes. Fourth, studying literature and continuing a conversation with us allows for reinterpretation and adaptation. We identify past stories that didn't get it right, or we want to shine a different perspective on it. We see this in retellings, like we were talking about earlier, or literature that degraded certain people, and we want to right their tilting ships.
Those are some of my favorite stories to read when you think that you know, but you don't.
Yes. Yes.
Is that a trope? You think that you know, but you don't.
There you go.
I want more stories like that in 2024.
Bring it on.
Well, and similarly, fifth, we see the benefits of blending genres. The more that we're exposed to, the more that we can use it to affect our own art.
Yeah. Sixth, literature helps us with an exploration of identity and belonging, allowing us to know more about ourselves and to find our people through the literary conversation.
And seventh, literature gives us a cultural fusion. So our world has become much smaller because of technology. And now that we're so much closer to other cultures and countries and all of that, we have access to a wider library of literature that helps us better understand each other. And that's important.
Yes, so important. And like we said at the beginning of this episode, we've only scratched the surface of why we should care about the great conversation. But we hope our 3 primary whys and 7 benefits to literature gets you started on your own discussions about the topic. And that leads us to our QWERTY challenge.
Dun, dun, dun.
Woo! So we challenge you to consider the reasons we gave for caring about the great conversation and add your own to that. In addition, we'd love for you to go deeper with the benefits of literature. Or, like May mentioned earlier, you can do this with your own creative medium. But what are some benefits that you come up with, or what would you add to ours? Share your brainstorming with us. Email us at QWERTYWritingLife@gmail.com or DM us on Facebook or Instagram at QWERTYWritingLife. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you guys have a great week.
Yes, and go make something.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope this episode encouraged you. Like all creatives, we thrive on consumer recommendations. So, please consider leaving us a review and sharing our podcast with your creative friends.
If you'd like to continue this conversation, visit us on our website at QWERTYWritingLife.com or on Instagram at QWERTYWritingLife.